We're talking color science today. The question is, how can something that's so incredibly useful also be so incredibly useless? On the Carolina Photography Podcast, today is episode 3. It is not a versus episode. I had to break that trend really quick, but it might be a versus in opinion. I am Jaeger from photog17.com, the online home of Carolina's photography. You can comment, question, ask me whatever you want by going to photog17.com. There's email there at carolina'sphoto@gmail.com. I'll just rattle it all off. Twitter, Carolina's Photo, and of course, Instagram is Carolina's Photography. Just hit me in the DM. Tell me your thoughts on this. Ask away, no matter what the question is. I'm coming to you from the Carolina Not Really Studios, known as the back room of my home. That just sounds really creepy. I'm just sitting in the back of the house. That is all, talking to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing and downloading. I appreciate it so much. So this is going to be a shorter podcast, unlike last week where I rambled for 20 minutes. Color science. The internet definition is a visual attribute of things that results from the light they emit or transmit or reflect. So an example they give is a white color is made up of many different wavelengths of light. Color, visual property, an attribute of vision. Great definition and a very useful definition because a lot of apps and software, computers, TV screens, monitors, that kind of makes sense, are using color science, and this is going towards cameras. Color science is very useful. It's a great way to match up colors, calibrate monitors, and calibrate devices in some ways. It could be necessary there. Swatches is also kind of like a form of color science where you know exactly what shade of blue you want to use if you're making up t-shirts for, like, say your high school, or I guess in some cases your college brand, even though I don't know really how legal all that might be to make up shirts unsolicited for your college. But color science is a very important thing, and it's important to know. Here's where it's not so important, and this is kind of piggybacking off a thing that's been on the internet where someone will post multiple photos. I think Tony Chelsea did this. More YouTubers did this, and they would ask their viewers to pick which photo they liked. And they normally would pick the most saturated photo, the photo that looked the most processed. And that was really all it was to it. It was just saturated more. And that was supposedly the color science, the Canon color science that you'll always hear so much about. And the reason that it's kind of useless is because you're going to add some artistic touch to photos. I literally just changed what would be considered the color science 8 times out of the batch of 1,000 photos that I've been editing right here. Color can be really easy to fix. I'm talking temperature wise right now. Temperature might be kind of warm. It might be kind of cold, and that can tie into color science. Fix the white balance. You're done. And if you want to add your artistic touch to it, you're done. It's not going to resemble anything they look like in a camera. So color science starts to go out of the window. Now, I guess the thing to say is, what phase of color science do you really want to look at it at the beginning, from how it can help calibrate things like monitors, or are you talking about the final outcome? A lot of people were talking about the final outcome. We're talking on the internet and on the webosphere. Color science is very good in the print days to try to get accurate print when you can verify that, hey, this screenshot is going to look like this when it's going out in a book or magazine. Great to have that color science and things like that down. Now, so many monitors will look so different out in the world as well, and that's just kind of a crazy other factor. It's just like this big rabbit hole of, yeah, it matters, and then it's like, it doesn't super matter, especially when you put your artistic style on there. Take a show like Tony Chelsea did, Game of Thrones, completely almost devoid of color, except for that final episode where I noticed it actually had happier colors in it, and that's not a mistake. In that very end scene for the ending to wrap the show up, more color than it's probably ever showed on screen, more dynamic range. That is my, maybe not dynamic range, just a range of colors in the spectrum are kind of there. Things feel happier. Spoiler. I'm sorry about that. I should probably delete this part, but you get the point. Like, for a certain mood, you will take color out when you're doing your hard-boiled story, some horror and crime noir, and heck, that might just even be black and white, which is another thing you can really talk about when it comes to color theory. Even though it's black and white, you will have a situation where you can put shades of color and highlights and the shadows, do that kind of thing all the time, like two-tone coloring. So color science is super important, not so important. I kind of compare it to magazines, not magazines. Well, yeah, magazines. What am I talking about? Back in the day, they used to grade graphics in video games. That used to get a score. Let's get a 1 to 5. It's video games gorgeous. It's a 5.0, and they just stopped doing it because everything has just reached a point where artistically it looks great. You can put a lot of hard work into making a game look like an 8-bit old school 80s video game, and that is every bit as artistic as a thing that is taking up all the computer power in the world to run it. So it kind of is not a throwaway stat. It's kind of the same. This is why I compared it, because it's so similar. Well, yeah, it's useful, but then again, at the end of the day, maybe not so much. So those are my 2 cents on color science. I'd love to hear from you. DM me on the IGs. It's Carolina's Photography there, or just hit me up at photo17.com. I am Jaeger. Thank you for listening to the Carolina's Photography podcast, and take with you this knowledge next time you're with your video friends and your photographer friends. It's a short podcast. Just play it for them. Give me a subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, this is a show that talks to you about those other photography tips and tricks. It's the Carolina's Photography Podcast.